Full time at the City ground, and it has finished Nottingham Forest 0, Liverpool 1 after a frantic FA Cup quarter-final tie with Diogo Jota's goal ruled marginally onside by VAR being the difference as the Reds set up a semi-final at Wembley with Manchester City. You're watching the Debrief live on the Blood Red YouTube channel with myself, Patrick Smith, and I'm once again in the esteemed company of Matt Addison as we react to Liverpool reaching the FA Cup semi-finals. So Matt, what did you make of that one?
Yeah, it was a difficult game, wasn't it, for Liverpool? It was one that you expected them to kind of win, but narrowly, and that's kind of how it was, wasn't it? I think all the way through the game, Forest made it difficult. It was, an intense atmosphere. It was all that you'd expect, really, from that kind of team on this kind of occasion. But at the same time, you kind of always fancied Liverpool to find a way. I think we've seen that enough over the last couple of seasons. This season in particular, in the domestic cups, they've kind of had enough to be able to get through. And I think that was the difference really today. Obviously, Forest had a couple of big chances and missed them. Liverpool have that chance. And I mean, Roberto Firmino should have scored in the first half, but Jota, when the chance comes to him, is clinical. So yeah, that was the difference really for me. It's just a case of taking those chances when they come. It could have been very different, but if Liverpool are going to win the quadruple this season, they're going to have to ride the luck once or twice. And I think that was probably just about one of those occasions where they deserve to win, but only by a very small margin.
I know it's cliche, and obviously they were always going to go for it, but Forest really did make it difficult for us, didn't they? I thought defensively, actually, we dealt pretty well with it, given they are a championship side. They really did pose a threat, and I was impressed, obviously, with Konate and Van Dijk. That is relatively strong, Matt, but I think that defensive Liverpool, be happy with that result today, won't they?
Yeah, and I thought Joe Gomez was excellent as well, actually, at right back, which obviously isn't his preferred position, but I thought he was really, really good for the majority of it. So, yeah, it was a good defensive performance, and I think that's probably one thing that in the kind of general talk around this game is probably going to be forgotten. I know they had that big chance near the end, but apart from that, it didn't really look like causing Liverpool too many problems. Again, there was a bit of chat on commentary around the kind of high line and Liverpool doing all of that sort of thing, but again, it wasn't ever one thing that made you particularly worried. There was no huge chances apart from that one that they missed a couple of minutes before the goal. So, yeah, I think defensively Liverpool did pretty well. Obviously, Forest did as well to keep Liverpool at bay. It wasn't a perfect performance going forward from Liverpool, but I do think, if Forest sort of have scored, it would have taken a big moment of quality. They very nearly had that, to be fair. The pass, I think it was Garner, wasn't it, who played the ball in behind. That was, a moment of quality that, any team could have done that. A Premier League, a Champions League team could have played a ball like that and opened up the Liverpool defence. But I think it was one of those days where you kind of felt if Liverpool got one, that would probably be enough. And thankfully, that is the way it went in the end.
You mentioned his name, though. I'd like to specifically move on to Joe Gomez. I thought he was brilliant today as well. Someone who at times hasn't been brilliant for Liverpool this season. He's really struggling to get that fitness back, and most of his minutes has been at right back. I personally think he's much better as a centre half, but he was very impressive today, Matt. And could he, with Trent's injury, be a very important part of this season?
I think he's going to have to be honest. I think if Trent is out for more than a couple of weeks and more than the international break, it would be a bit of a test, I think, for James Milner to play there twice a week for however long it might be. So, yeah, I think it was important, actually, that Joe Gomez played well today because, like you say, he could have a big role in this season. I mean, as soon as the internationals are over, it's back again to a game every 3 or 4 days. It's 2 games a week for the majority of the season. Obviously, even more the case now. Obviously, the Aston Villa game is going to be rearranged because Liverpool have got the semi-final in this competition. So, yeah, there's going to be quite a few midweek games. Obviously, we hope that Trent isn't out for that long. I'm still hopeful that when Jurgen Klopp said weeks, he meant 2 weeks and no longer than 2. But we have to kind of, we have to wait and see how long that's going to be. But if it's any longer than that, I think, Joe Gomez is going to have a part to play there. And to be honest, that's why I think it would be the right decision for him to stay at Liverpool. It was certainly the right decision for him to stay in January. But even beyond that, there's going to be times when he can play, be it right back, centre back, whatever it might be. And moving forward, that role is obviously going to increase. So, yeah, Liverpool can't afford to lose him. And I think the injury to Trent is probably going to highlight that a little bit more.
Well, I'm now going to move on to the goal. Diogo Jota got the breakthrough eventually. Really needed that because we were under the cosh a bit, weren't we, Matt? Obviously, I think the headline from this is going to be the onside decision because the initial angle showed on ITV. He did look off, I'll be honest. But then they showed a couple more replays and he clearly was just onside, I think. But it was a well-taken finish again, Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, but right place in the right time. I thought he was fairly terrible throughout the game, to be honest. He didn't play particularly well. But again, we've seen it so many times from him. Doesn't play well, doesn't really get involved, but then scores the winning goal. And as long as he keeps doing that, then Liverpool will be happy. I mean, in terms of the VAR decision, it did look offside. I was bracing myself for it being ruled out. But then obviously the technology gets it right. It's not one of those where it's a refereeing decision. It's a fact whether it's on or off. And on this case, Liverpool just about on the right side of that line. So, yeah, again, I'm sure there will be some nonsense spoken around the VAR and all the rest of it, but the decision was right. Jota just about managed to keep himself onside, and yeah, it was a vital goal. Obviously, again, coming just a couple of minutes after that big chance, after that goal went in and it stood, it really did feel like that was the moment, really, the chance at the other end, that chance being taken, that was the couple of minute spell where that game was won.
Yeah, of course. And there's another decision as well with Allison Becker rushing out of his line. I can't remember the Forest player's name, but at first I thought, oh no, he's touched in there. But in hindsight, the Forest player did go looking for it, Matt, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why he did that. I think if he'd have carried on, he might have had an opportunity to put it in. He might have been able to go around the goalkeeper. But yeah, he seemed to leave his foot dragging along the ground, didn't he? I mean, Allison did come out and your heart was in your mouth for a second, but he does obviously pull out, and the forward sort of stands on his hand almost in that sort of instance. So yeah, I think that the referee wasn't quite sure, but they got it right in the end. And again, I'm sure there will be some strange claims around that and Live Varpool and all the rest of it, but two decisions that went Liverpool's way, but for no other reason than that's the correct call.
Yeah, they were the right ones. And Ali himself had a great performance today, Matt, didn't he? A couple of big saves as well.
Yeah, really good performance from him. He's been important, hasn't he, the last few weeks, I think, in terms of making a few saves. Did that obviously against Arsenal, and yeah, exactly what he brings to the table, isn't it? We know he's solid, he's dependable. That's why he's the best in the world. And again, there was no kind of flying saves or anything for the cameras. It was just a case of being confident coming out and collecting crosses. And I think we've seen that a lot of times with goalkeepers in the past. Actually, you've kind of gone away to a championship team. They've thrown a few crosses into the box. Sometimes the goalkeeper can get a bit lost and the crowd can get on his back, and one thing leads to another. But with Allison, you just know that that's not going to be the case. It's always complete coolness and calmness whenever the ball's in the air, on the floor, whatever it might be. And yeah, again, just another really confident, assured performance. I think we do forget about him sometimes because that's just standard, isn't it? It's only when he makes an error or doesn't do something perfect that we kind of talk about it. But yeah, you're right. Excellent performance from him.
And now looking ahead at the calendar for April, it's going to be absolutely mental, isn't it? I think we've got Watford, Champions League against Benfica, City in the league, Benfica again, and City in the FA Cup. That's an unbelievable schedule, Matt, isn't it? How crucial are those 2 weeks going to be?
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United and Everton, I think the next two after that as well. So it's going to be some fixture list, isn't it? Then it'll be an FA Cup semi-final or whatever else after the Benfica game. So yeah, no, it's an exciting time, isn't it? It's what Liverpool wanted. It's what we want. We want all of these games. We want these opportunities. And we've said it plenty of times. It's going to be very, very hard for Liverpool to win the quadruple. It's going to be very, very hard for them to go all the way in each of those competitions. But they do just keep doing it game by game. I think that the first game back should be a fairly straightforward one for them if they can beat Watford and go into that crucial period of games top of the Premier League for a spell, as they will be ahead of Manchester City, playing a little bit later on in the day. I think that could be important. So yeah, it's hugely exciting. There's no kind of nerves or anything like that. It's just a case of trying to enjoy it as much as possible, because there's lots of teams that would give anything to be in the position that Liverpool are in. So yeah, savour every moment, and for now at least, still fighting on all fronts.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff to come, isn't there? But there is the international break obviously coming up. And while it may be a break for Jurgen Klopp and his Liverpool squad, we'll bring you plenty of Liverpool content throughout the international break right here on the Blood Red channel, as well as the Liverpool Echo and Liverpool.com websites and social media accounts. So be sure to keep updated with us to get your Liverpool fix. But that is all we've got time for today on the debrief from Matt Addison and myself. So until the Watford Premier League clash, it's bye for now.